Hello, thanks for welcoming me. Hello to the community. My first time doing presentation on this show. I'm working in the developer division, named DevDiv as a program manager. So we are working on VS Code, Visual Studio, GitHub, and some Azure services. And my team is working on the developer experience of Teams and ACS, so Azure Communication Services. So we are working on the Teams Toolkit, for instance, that is being just mentioned before. So today we'd like to give you a slight overview what is ACS and what you could do in your app and web apps, more specifically to enable audio video using the Teams infrastructure. But first, let's discover what is Azure Communication Services. So I don't know if you already heard about this service. So it's an Azure service that is fully managed by Microsoft, meaning that it's going to scale, it's going to use a secure infrastructure, it's going to be compliant, and also it's going to provide a lot of great features on top of it. For instance, audio video, maybe you already built yourself some web RTC platform yourself, and you probably know that this is not that easy to make it secure and scalable. So this is basically like a service you can use on the Azure side to enable this kind of experience for your users. And there is various features available for you as a developer when you like to use this platform. First is video. This is today what we're going to cover, audio, video, chat, also like the same one that you have chat in Teams, and also SMS, text messaging. You can also send some SMS using the platform or do regular phone calls, I would say, using the old telephony network. Using this service to have a number exposed, people could call you on this number. So it's using the same infrastructure as Microsoft Teams, meaning that Microsoft Teams is even built on top of this infrastructure. So it means that you can reuse the same scalability and quality of the platform for yourself to include that into your own app, could be a web app or any kind of app. And obviously, this is something really important that I've been asked by some of our customers is to be secure and compliant. We have a lot of laws to be compliant to, and by default, this platform will enable that for you. So as I was telling you, Azure Communication Services, also known as ACS, is powering up Microsoft Teams, some Dynamics 365 service, but also your custom app. This is what we're going to see today. So to build your custom app, obviously you have SDKs, you have various SDKs available. Normally, whatever your favorite language or platform, you should be covered. So we have .NET, obviously, but we have also JavaScript, iOS, and Android. We have also some Python support. So it means that you could use those SDKs to be able to connect to the platform and to enable audio, video, but also to send some SMS if you like to. And later on the future talk, you will be able to see some demo about SMS in a future talk. So no need to be an engineer on telecom. Everything is being managed by the platform. So let's switch to the demo. So everything is going to be live. So let's hope that the demo god will be with me. You can go to this page if you like to, aka.ms/ACS quick test, and it will land on this page, which is a static page that's going to show you the very basic experience you may start with when you like to use the service. So what it's going to ask you is a token. Obviously, to have access to the ACS platform, you need to prove that you have an access token. There is some kind of secure layer on top of it. So the first question is that the sample is asking you, can you please provide me a token, a security token? So for that, you need to go into the Azure portals and first to create an ACS resource. So if you don't know how to create an Azure Communication Service resource, in this simple page, you will be able to see how to create one in your existing Azure subscription. And once you are inside the ACS blade, you will have there identities and user access tokens, a way to generate security tokens. So you have to choose, do you want to generate a token for a user just to do voice and video calling, or do you want also to enable chat and vice versa? You can, be precise. let's generate a token. And this is the internal, I would say, identity and security of ACS, because as a developer, then you will have access to that and be able to map that to whatever internal identity system you may have. In my case, I'm going just to copy the user access token. I'm going to paste it into this specific string, and then I can choose a camera. So obviously I'm currently using one camera for this Teams call, so I've got another camera there, and I can use, you know, other type of mic or input. And what I would advise you the first time you will try the service is to try to call the Echo bot. Unfortunately, I think I need to share my screen again. You're going to understand why. I just forgot to enable audio sharing. So it should be back. And now I'm sharing the audio of my PC. So in this case, I'm going to call the Echo bot.
Hello, welcome to Azure Communication Services audio testing system. To test your call quality, record a short message after the beep, then the message will be played back to you.
So I'm using the second camera, and I'm using like kind of a fake audio recording for the test. And if it works, we should be able to. And I'm using like kind of a fake audio recording for the test. So I can hang up the call. It worked. So it means that I passed the first test, was generate a token from the Azure portal, give it to the SDK, which is there the JavaScript SDK of ACS, and it managed to do a call to the ACS infrastructure to check that everything is working fine. So enabling the camera and sending some audio. So obviously this is not super impressive yet, but we're going to see how to make some communication between two users. To be able to call another user using this web page, you need to have various identity. And you see that the internal identity grid is not super easy to share. So I've been working on a sample that I'm going to show you to simply use the SDK of SES and map that on social accounts. For instance, you can log on using your Twitter, GitHub, Google, or whatever account to be able to generate this kind of token. And then it would be easy for me to call someone using the email address of someone rather than remember this type of grid. So this sample is there, and I will show you where it is, you know, on my GitHub repo. So the first part is using Azure Static Web App and Azure Function that's got some embedded authentication layer for free, meaning that I didn't have to write any line of code to have support for instance, Twitter or Microsoft. So I'm going to log on with my Microsoft account. So davrous@microsoft.com, which is my email address. So basically the same experience as before. We will jump into the code after to let you have a look how it works. I need to choose a camera once again. So I'm going to use my right camera once again. And now I need to either call someone or I need to be called by someone else. So I'm going to use my iPhone this time as a third camera. So you need many cameras when you're doing this kind of debugging experience. So what I've connected to the same page, and what I've typed, you know, in this specific text box is my email address. And what the Azure function is going to do is when I will search for this email address, it's going to dig into the Cosmos DB attached, looking for the internal ACS ID, and then we'll resolve in a way the email with the proper identity and connect the two devices together. So if it works, I'm going to press the Start Call button. So you see that the UI is super basic intentionally, meaning that we will see in the future like how to improve the UI part. You see that the access button was ungraded, meaning if I now clicking the access call button, now you can see that this is my iPhone, and then there is a second camera there working. So I've been able to connect the two devices together, and I can then hang up the call on the other side. So meaning I've been able to build the very basic experience of connecting two users through the ACS infrastructure, which is the very same as Microsoft Teams. So before trying something live that I never tried before with this kind of meeting, let's have a look to the source code. So first, what you need to do, and you will have access to those samples anyway on my GitHub repo, but if you're doing that from scratch, obviously you need to install some specific NPM package that we are going to provide, which are communication command and communication calling. Having those type of package, it will be fairly easy for you to generate a call. You have to create an instance of the call client, which is coming from the ACS command library. Then you're going to take the user token that you have to copy paste in the layout to generate a second object named Azure Communication Token Credential. That's going to be provided to create call agent. So you can provide a display name if you like to. Once you've been able to do that, if this line of code is working, you've been able to connect to the ACS infrastructure. And the next part is simply a way to check the number of camera you have, the number of mic or speakers to let the user being able to choose all of them. And using this call agent, then you have events that you've seen in a way. If I've got an incoming call, what I like to do. So in my case, I wanted to, ungray one of the button and gray another one, disable another one to be able to let the user accept the call. And then once it's being done, you have code being available. So you just have to copy paste this kind of calls to be able to create a layout to view the different videos source. Just why I also decided to create this sample code for you. If you'd like to call someone, you have to use the start call function, which is pretty obvious. If you like to call the echo bot, like we've seen, you have to provide this specific parameter. If you like to call another user, like I did using my iPhone and my second camera, you have to provide, this specific ID we've seen in the portal before, this one. So you need to provide this one. And this is what I did using my Azure Static Web App code. But we can also call someone directly in Teams doing interop. As we are using the same infrastructure of Microsoft Teams, it would be awesome. Like if you build your web app, imagine you're building a web app to connect external users to your internal Teams infrastructures. They could go on a specific web page using ACS. You can have any kind of UI you like. And using the SDK, you can call someone in your company using Teams. So it's going to be completely transparent for this user to have an incoming call from your web page using ACS. So for that's why I've copy-pasted this the link to today's meetings, and I'm going to try it live. So let's have a look. So I'm still using the correct camera. This time I'm going to copy-paste the link there. And if it's going to work, I should be in the lobby. So you can see that someone is in the lobby. This is me coming from my web page. I'm going to admit myself. And I should be somewhere. I don't know where, but I should be somewhere. You can see I've been able to connect to this Microsoft Teams meeting that hasn't been configured for that. Like it's completely transparent. I can see also my screen being shared there. So it's like Inception in a way now. But you see that using a single line of code, I've been able to move to connect to my web page, very simple web page, to an existing Teams meeting. Like any kind of Teams meeting should be compatible with this SDK. So super convenient. Just as we have a little bit of time, if you are interested in understanding how I managed to map the identity, the social identity, which is Twitter, GitHub, or Google, to the ACS identity, I've got a Cosmos DB table there. When, for instance, I can see various users that try to connect to my page. For instance. The fake Bill Gates account just for fun that tried to connect from his Twitter. And you can see that I have the user token, like the same kind we've seen there in in the portal, but also we have the famous, complex internal GUID that the Azure function is going to get with a simple query. So this is done in my code simply in the Azure function there. I've got a way to do a lookup there in my Azure function, which is in JavaScript also. That is going to use the ACS connection string and try to resolve everything, to create the user and try to resolve everything. So you will have access to this source code if you're going there, which is github.com/davros, which is my alias at Microsoft /ACS out. So I can copy paste it there. And you will have inside it a final sample that I'm going to show in a video just after that. But to do a teasing for the next talk that will be done by a colleague of mine named David too, working in the Azure Communication Services engineering team this time. If you like to improve this very basic experience, we are providing like React library, a UI library for you to be able to have the same kind of look and feel that, Microsoft Teams, for instance. So once again, I can use, my camera, turn the video on, unmute myself, and stuff like that. And David will show you more how to basically, if you like to, recreate your own version of Microsoft Teams using that. So my final demo will be via a video to show you how far you can go using this ACS SDK. So what I'm going to show you is a VR environment built on top of Babylon.js. Babylon.js is a 3D engine I've been creating a long time ago and used by Microsoft today. For instance, the art and applause icon you have in Microsoft Teams is using Babylon.js, but it can do VR too. And what I'm going to show you in this video, I'm going to be in VR in my headset and connect in the same way I've just done before to an existing Teams meeting. So hello, I am in this virtual museum inside a metaverse running on top of WebXR and Babylon.js. And let's imagine I like to visit this museum with a lot of paintings, but I could be quickly lost because I'm not really an expert in arts. So I've included an option, which is really cool, being able to call someone over Teams. So what I'm going to do, I'm using Azure Communication Services to be able to call someone inside Microsoft Teams. So it's a regular Microsoft Teams, nothing special about this version. And I'm going to press the call button, and I'm going to establish a connection with this beautiful woman. So normally, I should be in the lobby in the other side, and she should be able to accept me. And as soon as she's accepted me, so hello, Christina. So Christina is my girlfriend, so she helped me to do this demonstration. And Christina, can you please help me to go inside this museum because I'm a little bit lost?
Yes, of course. Could you please go in front of you and go closer to the wall that's on the right or in the big room? Do you see it?
Okay, I'm going to take you with me on my controller. It will be easier, so I'm going to take you there. So is it on my right?
Oh, yes. Look at the picture on your right, just the first one. It looks so beautiful.
This one?
Yeah.
So what do you think? Should we buy it? Do you like it too?
It depends on the number of the zero after the first
Don't
price.
worry, it's not the price, it's the when it was made. So I don't know about the price. Maybe we should discuss about that later on. So, but it's great. We agreed on this one. So as you can, what we've been able to do in this scenario was a kind of a virtual visit. Just imagine now you're buying a house, you like to go with the sales representative, and I was putting the video feed instead of putting that in a classical HTML page, but in 3D on my arm, on my VR controller, and we could visit a museum or a house together with my wife. In this case, she was able to even have some video output in Teams of the scene being rendered in my headset. So you will have access to this sample code too on the GitHub. So the use case, so Metaverse is a little bit sci-fi maybe, even if you can see it's already working. We've been thinking about telemedicine, like being able to have people connecting to your web page and be able to connect to a doctor using Teams, for instance, using the interop feature. Financial advisory, a lot of people are using that for remote services and support, obviously, to be able to call someone using ACS, and also for education, like we've seen during the COVID, it was super useful to have this kind of tool. So if you'd like to get started today, you can go on aka.ms/communication-services-overview, or go on my GitHub to replay the same demo at home. Thank you so much.
Wow, David, that was quite the demonstration. We're getting lots of applause, lots of hearts, lots of surprised emojis on there.
Thank you.
This felt a lot. If anyone's familiar with the Douglas Engelbart, he had the mother of all demos back in the 60s. This felt like a mini version of that, just showing all the different pieces along the way. So thank you so much for sharing this. This is great.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.